Hey everyone, welcome back to Fire at Will. I'm Zach,
I'm Will. I'm here on cameras today.
and today we're going to show you a little painting video. Try this out, see if it's something that y'all like. I'm a pretty amateur painter, but I've been doing this since I was like 10, so I know a couple tricks, especially for people that are new to it, that might be helpful. Today, and we're going to show you how to go from unpainted to tabletop ready in just a couple hours. This is my test model. I did him in about 2 hours, not including the priming. There are a couple steps that we can't really show you easily on camera, so we're going to summarize them and show you stock footage, but that's why we have the Mad Dog. So that way we can film that. You can see that on the Mad Dog, but we're going to be painting the Summoner today. All right? So we'll be back in just a minute with the first step. Okay. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to prep the Mad Dog for priming. Clean up your mold lines, anything like that. Just dragging a hobby knife over them. Make sure if you're cutting things off of sprues, make sure that the point that you cut it off the sprue is cleaned up. Then we're going to take some good old-fashioned blue painter's tape, and we're going to tape up the base. On these pre-assembled plastic ones, I tape up the bases. If I'm making like an Iron Winds metal piece, I'll just leave the base off for priming. Just makes it a little bit easier, and I don't get as much, random color on the base to cover up later. So there's also a video that Camo Specs put out about how to cut these off of their bases. You can also do that, especially if you want to repose anything. So I'm just taking these little pieces of tape and getting them as close to the mech as I can. The mech's feet. That way, see that there? There's just less space for the primer to hit. And it doesn't take a super large amount of time. And I find that it's very helpful. So, after this is all taped up, we're going to take it outside, and we're going to use Vallejo Hobby Spray Paint. I love this stuff. It is basically like a paint and primer in one, and it's color matched to some of their game and hobby paints right there for you. That's what I use as the base coat for these Jade Falcons, because that way, as I'm going through, I need to touch anything up. It's the exact same color as the spray, and I don't have to repaint the entire model. So yeah, let's head outside and go get this thing primed. So, make sure you shake your can up real good, that way the paint is moving, and then as you go to spray, you want to start spraying not on what you're trying to paint, go across it, and end. So short bursts, all right? So
Try not to do it on a day that's this windy.
and what that'll do is that'll give you an even coat, and it'll also not make the paint splotch up on you. All right, so now that our Mini is primed in green, we're going to start painting all the yellow highlights for the classic Clan Jade Falcon color scheme, or as I sometimes call it, Clan John Deere Tractor. Because if you notice, on this lovely box set, which features my favorite Galaxy, Delta Galaxy, stomping on some Lyrans. Look at that. It's beautiful. So you'll notice that the yellow highlights on these guys are a bit symmetrical, and they're not the main focus. So I've tried to imitate that with the Shadow Cat here by making them as symmetrical as I can, and also still making the green be the star of the show. So to do that, we are going to use Games Workshop yellow, because it's all that I have. I generally speaking use Vallejo paints because they are just a little bit nicer, in my opinion. You want to shake your paint up real good. And with Games Workshop paints, if you've watched any of their videos, you'll know you'll want to thin it down a little bit. So, I'm going to take a little bit of the paint, put it on the palette, which is my very high-tech piece of ceramic tile. Get a little bit of water. Just mix that down so the consistency is just a little bit thinner. And then we're going to take a spot, pick any spot on this summoner to start painting. So I see these two little places on his chest here. I think those would look good in yellow. So just going to very carefully start getting those painted.
Are questions from the peanut gallery okay?
Yes.
So you're bracing your hands on that thing to reduce
Yes.
shake, I
So
imagine?
I am a naturally anxious and shaky person. So what I do with this box is I rest my elbows on the table and my forearms against the box. And when I do that, I find that I have a lot more control. Also, to even further eliminate it, if you set your miniature braced against the box as well, you can further cut down on the amount of shakiness going on, which I find very helpful.
Yeah, I'm a very shaky person too.
Yeah.
Like a chihuahua.
The resemblance is startling. So I'm going to go through here and just find all the panels that I want a different color. You might notice that you can still see the green poking through a little bit. Bring that a little bit closer, you will. So you still might be able to see the green poking through that yellow. Yellow's one of those colors like orange and red that tend not to cover very well. So once I get all the areas done in yellow, I'll let them dry for a little bit, and then I'll do it again just to try to dark, make it look more yellow, basically. So we'll be back after I'm done with the yellow. All right, so we've got our yellow on. We've done 2 coats of it. And now you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it too clearly, but there are some places where I have gotten yellow where I don't want it. You can see it right down there on his foot. And also right over here on his back, there's little dots of it. So the reason I use the Vallejo stuff is that this color, sick green, because it's pretty sick.
I got it.
You got it? Good.
Very good.
All right.
I'm supposed to laugh as a cameraman because it shakes it. That's my excuse.
That's why. That's why you didn't laugh. It matches the spray completely. So I'm just gonna take a brush and a little dot of it and just go to all the places. Wet that brush a little bit. And just go to all the places that I want green again. So this little area on his back right here, covered up. It's like it never even happened. So I'll go around the model, just find all the little places that I messed up. And they'll be right as rain. I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll go on to the next step. So the next step is a little bit fancy. It's something that I started doing actually earlier this year that I learned, and we're going to do a little bit of a jewel effect on the cockpit.
Ooh.
So I have 4 colors here: black, white, dark blue, and light blue. And I'm going to put all of them on the palette. No, I should have done this beforehand. So yeah, I have my 4 different colors, and I'm going to basically be mixing them kind of on the fly to get the effect that I want to get. I'm really glad I didn't go to shake this again because I had it open. And that would have made this take hilarious all over my new shirt.
If it got on my lens, I'd probably cry.
That would be fair. It would be very silly of me to do. All right. I kind of need a lot of this blue, so I'm going to use one of these larger brushes to get a big dollop of it. There we go. We're going to just get a little bit of water in there to thin that down. Although actually the Vallejo paint I found kind of thins it down enough. All right. So now, the way that I do this, I don't know if it's the correct way to do it, but I'm going to go basically from like my second darkest color to white and then go in and add the black at the very end. So I'm going to take a little bit of this blue, this darker blue here, and start mixing it in with the lighter blue. I'm going to show you that real quick. And then I'm just going to start mixing them together until I get about the color that I want. If I find that I've made it a little bit too dark, maybe I'll go in with the white. It's kind of like a dark grayish blue. And I'm going to go into, see their little recessed area of the summoner's cockpit. I'm going to go ahead and paint most of it without hitting the top area. And also, I'm going to paint this little window on the side. So,
Kill me, dog.
sorry, just like that. You can see there and there. So then, clean off my brush. I'm going to make a little bit brighter of a color by bringing in more of this blue and mixing it into the color that I had just made on the side. Maybe add a little bit of white. You don't want to add too much though, because you'll kind of lose the pigment if you add too much of the white or black to it. So there we go. That's just a little bit brighter than what the other one, those top two there. That was the first one that I used right over here, and then the second one is going to be the other color. And I'm just going to start painting the top, almost like cutting a triangle across, and I'm just going to paint a line across and then anything above that. So, get rid of some of that excess. We probably should have had you do this over my shoulder. Now that I'm here and thinking about it, Will.
Well, to be fair, pre-production was almost non-existent.
Well.
And there's a wall behind you that's pushed up pretty hard.
We'll figure it out next time. Next time, the camera will be behind me so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better.
Or I'll fix it in post. That's how that works, right? I can put the camera behind you in post.
Yeah. No. So it's a little bit hard to see, but we still kind of have the darker color here at the bottom and now the lighter color at the top. So now, just going to add the tiniest bit more white and just get as bright of a color as we can without it being pure white. We're going to paint another triangle across the top, but smaller than the one before. So that way it's almost changing shade like the glare on a piece of glass changes. So if we go back up to this top portion again, this little dot up here is now the final color. Just ever so slightly up in the top corner of both of these. I think we're going to need to be closer.
You want to bring him in?
Yeah, can we?
Just get right about there.
And can you see that color variation there?
Can you? Your
in the
monitor's
cockpit?
bigger.
Yeah.
You can go a little closer if you want. Right about
There we go.
there.
So you see the different layers that I've gone for. And so now we're going to just do two more things. I'm going to clean my brush off all the way. It's going to be a little out of focus on that camera, so we're going to focus on this one. I'm just going to do a little dot of white and a little dot of black across from the...
And obviously this is easier when you have larger surface areas to work with, because the cockpit on the Summoner is pretty small.
Yeah. It is one of the smaller ones. Maybe I'll do this again. Maybe I'll show you how I do it on the Mad Dog. Because that one's a little bit more prominent.
Well,
the Shadow Cat...
Technically that big thing in the center is not the cockpit on the Mad Dog.
Yeah, no, it's just its nose.
Yeah.
Alright. So then I'm going to do the black real quick here. And I need to look at this so that I can see what I'm doing. Alright, how does that look? Dot of white needs to be better. Take some of that little color. There we go.
I'm seeing a second cat, and that makes me happy.
Yes, both Walter and Dexter are out and about today. So yeah. Is that good? Can you see that? Yeah, so we got a little bit of variation. Just kind of looks like the sun hitting it across the top and the color shift as it goes down.
Okay, so you do the dark on the bottom because it's supposed to be representing the...
Being further away from the light.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, sometimes knowing the reason helps me.
So yeah,
you can see anybody else, but
I'm gonna come in again with the Shadow Cat real quick so that you can kind of see on that one.
As close as we can get.
Cool. So that one has the same kind of thing going on there. Yeah. Look at that, guys. So I've started to paint some of the metal bits right here. Kind of see like the jump jets, any other random vents and stuff on them, like the backs and the areas around guns I try to do as well. That's just to remind everyone that it is a machine. I'm just going to go ahead. I painted most of these already. I'm just going to paint this grate on the front right here. Yeah, that looks good. Coming out of the back of his neck there. I hope everyone got that reference.
I did not.
Well, guess we're watching some Homestar Runner after this.
Oh, that's why I didn't get it. Because I didn't like Homestar Runner.
Stop talking, Will. So, we got all the metal bits painted on the miniature. And now, I'm going to touch it up again because I messed up the green in some places. And then we're going to shade it, and then we're going to dry brush it, and then it's going to be done. So now, we're going to shade. Some people, myself included, call this talent in a bottle because it just kind of makes it look better, and it's not really that difficult. But one of the things I do recommend is you keep the brush that you're going to do it with and a second brush that doesn't have anything on it. That way, if it starts to pool up in any places, you can take the brush without the paint on it, and it'll kind of suck up the paint that you don't, or the shade that you don't want to be there. So, just going to go in and start putting this all over the place. Just kind of being real indiscriminate with it. It's like a little bit too much right here. A little too much right there, so I'm going to use that brush to kind of pull some of it back. And yeah, just going to kind of go to town.
Yeah, I never thought of having a brush out to pull the stuff back, which is why mine look like they've all been rubbed in the mud.
It's we call it coffee staining, because it kind of looks like a coffee ring on your table. Because you didn't use a coaster.
I always use a coaster.
Yeah, I know. We might just put a bleep there, even though I didn't actually curse. Or we'll just leave it in. Because we're professionals.
I'm even using my wallet as a coaster right now because I didn't have access to one.
That's very kind of you. We're going to stop talking about the home goods in my house. I'm going to finish shading this, and then we're going to do the dry brushing. Super simple. Alright. You still with us? This is really the last step. So what I've done is I put a little bit of silver paint on my palette. I switched palettes. I generally use this one for like metallics, but that doesn't matter. One tip, do not mix the two water cups that you're using between regular paint and metallic paint. You will find that the metal flakes in the metallic paint will make all of your paint sparkly. So I'm going to get a little bit of this paint on my brush, and then on a paper towel that I've got right here, I am going to wipe off basically all of it.
And there's cups in the way.
Yeah, I can move that. So I'm going to wipe off basically all of it until it's not really leaving any marks. And then we're going to go back up to here. And kind of like you're using a feather duster, you're just going to brush it all over. I should have waited until this was a little bit drier from the wash, but... And this will just kind of look like it's a little bit weather beaten. Right? Yeah. Yep. Definitely want to wait a little bit longer than I did in between, just to make sure that you let that wash dry, or you can wash it first. I don't know if there's really like a best practice on that, because you're kind of doing different things. The wash tends to stay in the lower areas, while the dry brushing hits really only the edges and higher areas, so they don't really interact. I'm just going to pull this tape off of here, show you the finished product. Sounds like one of my cats is doing something he shouldn't.
It's chewing on bubble wrap, I think.
Yeah, no, it's the cabinet that I haven't built yet, but that I opened. That's why we're filming in the living room and not in my office. All right. There we go. All right. And there, you've got 2 members of Clan Jade Falcon's Delta Galaxy. Really, it took me like an hour and a half to do each one. It took a little bit longer with this one because we were filming and it's a little bit bigger of a mech. But it's just that simple. If you're just getting started or you joined because of the Kickstarter, or you're looking to join, these are skills that you can develop quickly and you can get a really, adequately painted force out on a battlefield. Remember, most battles are played 3 feet away from your face, so it only has to look good from 3 feet away. So, anyways, if you liked it, let us know. If you didn't like it and you think that I'm a hack and a fraud of a painter, also let us know. So, yeah.
And like and subscribe.
And do those things that we never tell you to do at the end of the videos.
Those are a thing, right? We're supposed to say those things?
Yeah, I don't...
For numbers?
Yeah, no.
I've heard of numbers.
Yeah, we like numbers.
I'm suspect of them, but...
Well. Will also doesn't believe in the alphabet, so there's that. Anyways, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.